Welcome back to the 35th episode of the Dear Young Men podcast. In today's episode, we are going to talk about how life is work, so make the most of it. On Dear Young Men. The Dear Young Men podcast is a weekly podcast that posts Tuesday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we talk to the 20-year-old version of myself and all the young men out there that need guidance. So welcome back to the podcast. I am going to ask you to like the video and subscribe and comment and do all that stuff. 5 stars, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. Sorry I have to do it, but I think the message in these podcasts is pretty good. And I'm not saying you can't get anywhere else, but you can't get it from somebody as handsome as me or with as few hair follicles as me. So I'm winning in some front, some form or fashion. I think the message is good, so that's why I'm asking. So in last week's episode, I had sort of briefly mentioned this idea that life is work. And basically, so just to make the most of it. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into this idea and how life really is work and how we should make the most of it. So I was watching this video from somebody who has watched a lot of videos from my old channel, Scott Schroeder. He is, I'm going to get the exact name right. He changes his name a lot, so I'm always confused as to who it is, but then I just watch a video, I'm like, I know exactly who that is. His current YouTube handle is Midlife and Heavy Backpack. He quit his job. I was watching some of his videos. He quit his job a few months ago, I should say, back in March. And he's just been getting healthier. And it's actually really encouraging to see, because you can actually see he looks healthier. Like his face looks thinner. He looks like he's in better shape. He posted a picture of his calves a couple months back, and they look insane. So you can tell he's definitely making progress. He was in IT, doing all this stuff. And he posted this video about how to become an NPC in your own life. And I thought it was such an interesting idea on just because what he says is like the first thing is seek comfort. That's the first thing he says is seek comfort. And that idea of seeking comfort and choosing to work. It's like that's like the two choices you have. Like most people can get a decent enough job, and like most people will get a decent enough job where they can pay the bills, and they come home and they watch TV, they eat food, they go to bed, and they wake up and they go to work. And they come home, and they watch TV, and they go to bed, and they wake up, and they go to work, and they watch TV, and they don't do anything. Like, they don't work. They have a job, but they don't work. And work is different than having a job, because anybody can show up and do the bare minimum at a job. That's not that hard, that anybody can do. You copy and paste a bunch, you send some emails. But working is different. Working is this idea that you're striving for more, striving for greater, striving for a better version of your current self. And so that could be at work, that could be at home, but no matter where it is, it's work. So let's take the example of somebody who wants to get a promotion. You can't just show up, do the bare minimum, and then come home and watch TV. If you want to get a promotion, you're going to have to show up early or show up on time, work harder than everybody else, do more than everybody else, stay later, be flexible, be the guy that everybody can rely on. And then through all that work, you can get those types of promotions, you can get an increase in pay, whatever it is you want to do. Same thing with anything that you ever want to accomplish, it's work. There's this picture in my head that I can see. I'm going to try to explain it to you. And I think this is like a Casey Neistat thing. I can't exactly remember. But basically, it's like your goals are here at the end of this line, and you're at the beginning of this line. And the stuff in the middle that's between you and your goals is just work. And that's it. There's nothing else. There's no luck. There's no this. There's no that. It's just work. You want to run a marathon? Work. You want to get a promotion? Work. You want to start a business and have it be successful? You have to work. You want to get in good shape? You have to work. You want to do anything. You want to be a great father? You want to be a great husband? You want to be a great whatever? You have to work. There's no way around it. Because even if you get to that end goal and you didn't work, it's not going to feel like it should because you didn't work. And so there's that paradigm basically in life where the less you work, the worse you feel. And I think I have that turned up to like 10 or something on me, because even if I watch football for like 3 hours, I feel exceptionally guilty. And then I do something like last night, we watched, I don't know, maybe it was 2 hours of football yesterday, and then we went on like a 2-hour walk because I just felt so bad about it. And then afterwards I came downstairs and I worked. And after we put the kids to bed, I played with them for a little bit. And that's life. Is if you want to feel good, you have to work. So this idea I used to think of this idea of retiring early as something that was a goal of mine, like financially independent, retire early. That's the big FIRE community. And basically their idea is have your investments reach a certain level, and that level is 25 times. They've actually recently adjusted it down to I think like 23, but 25 times your annual expenses. So if your annual expenses are $100,000, you need to have times 25, you need to have 2.5 million. The reason for that is because on average, if you pull out 4% out, you take 2% away for inflation, and then you have 7% for growth. You basically should flatline at that amount and you'll never run out of money. That's the whole idea basically. And I used to think that was a really inspiring idea. And I thought that was awesome. Like, man, I could retire because, the way my wife and I had done it, we've done well for ourselves. And a lot of that's because we've invested so heavily, especially while we were young, because we knew that compounding interest and all that stuff, like it matters the most now. And so if we can get it right now, then when we're 40, 45, we'll be doing great. And one of my favorite things to do is to look at like where the average or the median American is at age 30, 35, all that type of stuff. And I will say we're doing better, which is good, but we need to obviously stay the course. And so this idea of retiring early and not having a job was super enticing to me. And then like, as I've gotten older, I'm like, I don't know what I would do. I think I would die. I think I would literally die. I think I would wake up at 10:30 and I would like play on my phone till 11:30. And then I would come downstairs, go get lunch at Chipotle. I don't know, go play golf for like a couple hours and then come back home, maybe work out, come back home, play with the family, and then like play on my phone again, I guess. Like, I don't even know what I would do if I didn't have a job or I didn't have something that I was chasing after if it's not a job. And so this idea of retiring early is a cool one, right? Like not having to work is great. For somebody else is great, right? But you're still going to have to work because if you don't work, you're going to die. And so I don't think you ever really retire. I think that idea of retirement seems good, but you're going to feel, I think for me especially, and I think most people feel like this, is they're going to feel useless if they do that. And if you don't feel like that, then you should probably work more because you need to know what it's like to work. Because once you feel that work, it's like addicting in a way. And yeah, it comes and goes, it ebbs and flows, and sometimes it sucks to work and you don't want to work, and so you choose not to work, and and then it sucks. And so I would suggest working though, because working is better than not working. And you know people that have a job and they complain about the job the whole time, and it's like, you know what? Yeah, our jobs suck. It's a job. Every job sucks, right? But you don't have to look at it as a job. You can look at it as work. If you look at his work and you approach it from a different vantage point, different perspective, it's not something I have to do, but something I get to do, something I'm choosing to do, then I think your life will totally change. And so I think you need to start reshaping your mind as opposed to like, what does the world owe me versus what do I owe the world? What I can give the world something, a part of me. There's something, the interesting thing about humans is they really are, they're extremely unique. Like everybody is different. We all grew up differently. We all have different parents. We all look different. We all think different. Some people are smarter. Some people are faster. Some people are neither. Some people are not good at sports, and some people and they're dumb. And it's like, but there's something about them that makes them unique. And there's nothing about that that's a negative, right? It's just like we all are unique in our own specific ways. And you see some people who, they like, I don't know, you look at them and you're like, man, you feel like you had everything against you and you've done so fantastic for yourself. And I think the reason for that is they just worked. And that's like the big separator. Most of my life, I had this idea, and I think that this is our generation before us taught us this idea of smart. And this, you're so smart, you're so naturally this, you're so naturally that, you're so naturally good at golf, you're so naturally smart, you're so naturally good at that, you're so naturally good at this. That's a terrible way to look at life because, okay, you might have a natural affinity for something, but Tiger Woods is only Tiger Woods because he worked. That's it. He just worked more than anybody. That's the difference between him and everybody else. Is he practiced more than everybody else, and he was in better shape than everybody else. So he hit the ball further than everybody else, and he was a better putter. He had a better short game, and he was just better than everybody at everything because he just worked. And that's it. That's it. Like it. As I've gotten older, the only thing I realized in my life is I viewed the world in the most negative possible way because I thought that you had to be naturally gifted at something to be good at it. So, like Tiger Woods was just naturally gifted at golf. No, he just worked harder than I did. That's it. That's the only difference. Because if you look at my scoring average my whole life, The more I work, the lower it got. And that's life. And so this idea that you are who you are and that's it, you have natural this, natural that, it's like, dude, you could be dumb and unathletic and you could be the best soccer player in the world. Like because there's no natural this. It's just work and that's it. And so I think that as you go throughout life, you should start thinking this idea of just like, all it takes is work, and anybody can work. Like everybody can do something because you have time. And so you just make the most of it instead of spending it on your phone or doing this or doing that. Just work. And I think that idea of just working will totally change the way you view the world, because it's not like, oh, the world owes me this and I need this and I need that. You know, it's funny, like that idea to me is like from the other way around. It's like, what do I owe the world? Is actually quite interesting. Like, man, what do I owe the world? Like, I feel like I can make the world a better place in these few ways, and I can live out as the example of my ideas and show them my ideas are good and right and true. And so people will want to follow my ideas, and that in turn will make their life better. But I think that the other way is, what does the world owe me, is just how you become miserable, because the world doesn't owe you anything. And that's the sad truth of it, is nobody owes you anything. Your parents owe you a little bit, but they're not reliable. They're human. And so they'll probably fail you. They'll probably let you down in some capacity. And so it's on you. You owe yourself everything. And I don't know, it's like that. That's why you reach out. And there is somebody who's always there for you. His name is Jesus Christ. And he was thrown up on a cross because you sin. And he said, you know what, I'll take your sins on my back, so long as you follow me. And that's what I think is just, it's so, that idea of like, you don't owe it to just yourself. You owe it to the one person who gave his whole life for you. That's who you owe it to. And it's not the world. It's not this, not that. It's him. That's who you owe this all to. And I'm big into investing. I talk about it a lot on this podcast, and I want to just go over some numbers on how this stuff compounds like quite quickly. So I'm going to look at the Dave Ramsey investment calculator, because I just like this one, and it's got a nice look to it. Whoa, that's really bright. Look how bright that is on the camera. Okay, so right now I'm 30 years old, right? And so this is the power of compound investing, because this is how everything works. This is how work works. And I'll explain it in a minute about my thinking, but I'm just going to show you. So let's say the age I plan to retire is 70. So that's 40 years of work, right? And let's say I currently have $0, but every single month I'm going to invest $2,000 at 10%, because that's the annual return for the last 30 years at the S&P 500. And what would be your guess? Like right now, take a guess on this number. So that's 30 years, every year 2,000. So that's 40 years, every year $2,000. That's $800,000 that you put in. How much money do you think it's going to be? Do you think it's going to be like 5 million, 4 million, a couple million? Like, it's going to be obviously a lot of money, because you put in almost $1 million. Sorry, you put in 960,000. That's just the worst math ever by me. Wait, 960,000, 40 years. Oh wait, $2,000 a month. There's 24. That's 24,000 a year, not 20,000 a year. So yeah, 960,000. So how much is that going to be? $12.6 million, with 11.688 of that, 11,688,000 of that being growth. That's it. And the most interesting part of that is, in year 2064, when you're 69, you have 11,426,000. And then the next year, that means you would make, if you make 10%, you will have an additional, what is that? $1.2 million. And that's how it goes, is the progress you make is never linear. So you work really hard, you do all this stuff, and then one day you make a little bit more, and then a little bit more, but then those increases will become increasing. So when I first started doing wedding videos, my first wedding I did for free, and nobody paid me any money. Then the second wedding I did for $1,000, and the next wedding I worked 10 hours and made $1,000. So I'm working 10 hours making $1,000, and I just kept churning this out. This is when I used to do weddings, and then I got up to 1,500, and then a little bit more, and then I got to a point where I'm like, you know what? This is stupid. I'm just gonna start charging more, because I don't really like doing this. But my videos were really good, and so I was like a desired person to make videos. And at the end of it, I sold a wedding for $3,500, and that was just after a year and a half of doing weddings. So if you think about that growth trajectory, in just a year and a half, I had more than tripled how much I made for a wedding. I went from $1,000 to $3,500, and that's just how it goes. It's just that linear. It's not linear. It's that exponential increasing at an increasing rate. And so, like, patience is key with work. because the first couple years you invest $24,000 and everybody else is going out and partying and this and that. And, you know, like you have $24,000 invested the first year. So by year 5, all you have is $154,000. It's not that much money. It's a lot of money, but not that much money really, right? But you've been investing, I mean, 100,000 of that is investments, right? Because you've invested $24,000 every year for 5 years. I think it was 100 grand. And so it's not really a lot. But then as you continue to do it, you'll be a millionaire by the 17th year. It's like, okay, well, that's actually kind of a lot. But then in an equal number of years later, so it took you, let's see, in 2025, you were worth 0. 2042, you're worth $1.064 million. So $1 million. That took you 17 years. In 17 more years at, let's see, what was that? 2042. So 2059, you are worth $6.8 million. So you see the difference there? So that's a difference of almost $6 million in that same 17-year period, but it's because it's increasing at an increasing rate. So this is obviously my endorsement to invest as early as you can, as much as you possibly can, sacrifice as much as you possibly can, but also in life. Invest and grow, and you will be shocked at how quickly some of these things pay off and how big some of the payoffs are. But just stay the course, because even if it takes 5 years, you'll be shocked at how much more money you're making and just by doing the work. And there's also, I think, this idea of, I've been thinking a lot about at work, and it's first impressions. And you only get one chance to make a first impression, and it's actually probably the most important thing is to make a first impression. That's really good. If you're the guy who just messes up and is lazy the first month, 2 months, 3 months, the first 6 months, then that's who you will be forever. And you can change, but people just won't believe you. Being the guy who is just good at his job, who just tries really hard, who's on top of his stuff, who's organized, who's this, who's that, who's this, who's that, that's the guy that people are going to rely on. And you can become that guy in the first 2, 4, 5, 6 months. You can just become that guy, that standard of excellence, that you just are that thing. Even if you're not that good at your job yet, you could just show that you will be, and people will trust you, and they can depend on you, they can rely on you. I've actually seen this a lot in my current job, because I'll be honest, I've never really taken a job seriously. This year I decided, I'm like, you know what, it's a new job, new company. I'm going to be a new person. I'm going to be the best employee, and I'm the best employee. I really am. Like, I am the most reliable, dependable. I'm the most creative. I do the most. And am I doing it for the shareholders? No, I'm doing it for me, because I want to work. And if I just go to work and just do the bare minimum, I'm going to come home and do the bare minimum. I'm going to go to work and just clock in at 8 o'clock and casually do my work for the day, maybe miss something here, make a mistake there, come home. I'll do the same thing with my kids. Clock out at 4:30, 5 o'clock, come home and just be the same lazy bum that I was at work. And instead, it's like, I'm going to work hard at work, and I'm going to come home. I'm going to bring the same attitude to work. I'm going to bring the same attitude to this podcast. I'm going to bring the same attitude to my whole life. Because if I don't do that, then I know I'm just going to fail. And so I think that idea of just work and first impressions and being like that guy, the dependable one, the one that everybody can look at and knows that he's just going to put in the work to get it done. It's interesting because, like, you should have a goal and you should reach extremely high, because I think you'll be shocked at what you can accomplish. When I was younger, my grandpa, he was pretty wealthy, and he owned a home on Kiwa Island. And so you could look it up. It's this beautiful island. The homes now are worth like 2, 3, 5 millions of dollars. And my whole life, I'm like, that's unattainable for me. I thought that even when I was a kid. I'm like, that's unattainable. This is too much. This is too wealthy. That's nothing I can ever. That's not a mountain I can climb to. And recently, I'm like, why not? Like, why not? Why not just have that much money? Because, you know, if I'm making that much money, how much money could I have donated? How much money could I have given to people who need it more than I do? If I could get to a level where I'm there and I'm able to buy a home on that island, I'm able to vacation there with my family, I'm able to join the golf course, I'm able to spend this money. Why not? Like, worst case scenario, I just don't do it. You know what I mean? Like, you have a goal and you try really hard. And the worst case scenario is you just don't achieve that goal, but you tried really hard and you worked. And so every day you can look at yourself in the mirror and be proud of who you are, because you worked hard and you did the things that you were supposed to do. And so why do goals have to be attainable for some and not attainable it's like, why not? I have a friend who works for, I was talking to this guy at a wedding. I know him. He's not like a good friend of mine, but I would consider him my friend. Friend of a friend. He works for, I think, like Blue Origin, one of the companies that's trying to go to space. And he's an engineer. He's working on rockets for real, like for real rockets. I think he's like, I don't know what part of the crew he's part of, but he's working on actual rockets. So you think he's a genius, right? And I talked to him like, you know what? He's pretty smart. He's got his stuff together, but he's not the smartest person I've ever met. And I think like in that moment, it like catalyzed that idea for me of like, you just have to be smart enough and you just have to put in the work, because he's put in the work. He's an engineer. He's done everything he needed to do, and he should be proud of where he's at. And he's talking about going to the moon. It's like, it's it's amazing. But he's not like 163 IQ, right? He's a smart guy for sure. He's not 163 IQ. Smart enough, but he's not like the most brilliant person I've ever met. And so have that goal and just reach for as high as you possibly can. I think that you're like, what you're capable of doing is much greater than what you ever think. Do you think that any of the apostles, any of the people Jesus chose to spread the word, do you think any of those people that he washed the feet of, do you think any of them thought that they'd be talked about 2,000 years later? I mean, like, to have that kind of impact is unbelievable. And they're just like people in the Middle East, like just like kind of nobodies, right? Like they're nobodies. And then they spread the word of God. And so they were called for so much more, and they actually lived up to that potential. And, obviously he spoke, the cock will crow 3 times before, and you will like denounce me all 3 times. And so they weren't the best, but then they all died. They were all martyred for their belief in Christ. And so it's like, why? Like, I'm not saying that has to be you, but those people were just effectively nobody. They were there, and they were selected, and they worked, and they did what they needed to do. And they put their faith in God, and they put their faith in Jesus, and look what happened. And obviously, like, maybe you won't be able to do something like that, and you're not going to be in the Bible, and that's okay. But you can have an impact on thousands of people, hundreds of people, tens of people, millions of people, who knows? And you could do so much more than what you're capable of doing, because somebody's going to do it. And why not you? You know what I mean? Like, why not? Why not be the person who just does that thing? And I think that all it takes is work. It's such a simple concept, and this episode's probably longer than it needs to be, because it could probably just be like 2 seconds and say, like, life is work, do it, and you'll be successful. You'll achieve your goals. It doesn't have to be financial, it doesn't have to be this, just whatever it is, just work. And if you work at it every single day, I think the speed at which you'll get to where you want to go and then surpass that and then go way beyond what you think you are capable of doing it's pretty incredible. Even with me in golf when I was younger, I always wanted to shoot 75. So it's like I was always happy breaking 80 and shooting 75s. And then one day I just started averaging par. And then now I'm a plus 2.4. I mean, that doesn't mean I shoot under par every time, but that means I'm so good that when I go to a golf course, I have to give the golf course shots, because par 72, if it rates at a 72, I'm a plus 2.4, which means I have to shoot a 70, or basically a 69.5, 69.6 technically, to shoot par, because that's how good I am. And it's like, I never would have thought that when I was 18, because I just want to break 80. And I think that idea, just reach beyond what you think you're currently capable of doing. And like, why not? You know what I mean? Like, why not? And I think for me, a lot of it was like authority figures, right? So you saw them, I'll never be them. I'll never be Tiger. I'll never be this. I'll never be that. It's like they were just so much they were much more naturally talented than I was. It's not true. Like, authority figures are not people that you should look at and be like, I'll never get to that point. They're people you should look at and be like, okay, I'm going to figure out how they got there, and I'm going to surpass them because I'm different and I'm better. Maybe not better, but like, I'm going to do it better, or I'm going to learn from their mistakes and do it differently, do it better, do it this, whatever it is. You know what I mean? And I think that authority figures are great because they've already done it. There's guys I work with who are just brilliant, and they've done this for so long. And it's like, you do a lot of things really well. A couple of things I might disagree with, or maybe I can improve, but you're doing so many things really well. I want to know why you do it this way and how you got to that point, and I want to get to that point, and then hopefully maybe I can surpass it. Same thing with anything. It's like, I want to learn the Bible way better. The only way I'm going to do that is by just listening or reading the Bible all the time and learning it. And so the people before me who know the Bible really well, like I disagree with a lot of I'm a Catholic, so I disagree with a lot of the Protestantism and how they go about it with their rock concerts. And I know that people want tradition. They want a more traditional style of learning the Bible. And I think that that's part of what this podcast is me trying to do, is like reach out to myself when I was 18 and I was struggling with my faith. And I'm like, well, I don't know, like rock concerts, that's not Christ. Like it isn't to me. And that, I'm not, nothing against Protestantism. It's an important thing. Like I think Martin Luther needed to do what he did, and he needed to do that because the Catholic Church had totally lost their way. And just no surprise, it's run by men. That's what happens. But I do think you can look at something and think, I can do it better. Why not? Like, because worst case scenario, you try really hard and you don't do it better, and maybe you don't do it as well. But even if you do a little bit worse, you'll still affect people positively, because some people are going to like you more than they like that person. And so your message or whatever you're trying to do is going to get to that point. And so I think finally, you don't owe it to me or your kids or your wife or yourself, really. You owe it to God. You owe it for Jesus Christ was beaten, brutally beaten, and thrown up on a cross because we all sinned. And you owe it to him. You owe it for the bloodied man on the cross with a crown of thorns on his head, who is saying to God that they know not what they're doing. That's who you owe it to. You don't owe it to anybody else. That's him. And when you have that, the biblical idea of striving for more and becoming better and becoming basically the version of you that exists out there that can be greater than you currently are. Like, you owe it to not yourself. You owe it to him. He's sitting there on a cross, hanging, bloodied, beaten, for no reason, because he did nothing. That's why. And he was innocent, and you owe it to him because he did that for you. The least you could do for him is work. The least you could do for him is put the snacks down. The least you could do for him is go to the gym. The least you could do for him is pick up the camera and film. The least you could do is that. And you owe it to him because he did everything for you. He gave you life. And so all you have to do is work. And you'll never pay it back. You never can. You do the best you can, and the only way to pay back is to work. Thank you for watching. This has been Scott, and listening. This has been Scott with the Dear Man Podcast. Go work. See you next week.